into critical, this reflective, interpretive, sociolinguistics research was my personal linguistic trajectory and the particular context in which I was schooled and raised. Because as you know, I come from Catalonia, which is a bilingual Catalan minority language, not official in the UA, and Spanish majority language, global language, recognized all over the Spanish nation state. And this society, having two co-official languages, is located in northeastern, in the northeastern part of Spain, right below France. And in there, when I was studying English studies, I was really very intrigued about how we in Catalan society used this and navigated through bilingualism, through the uses, the statuses, and the meanings that we attributed to both the minority and the majority language. And I had this intuition that our language practices and the social meanings that we attributed to them were in part aspects in which I could feel that there was some linguistic ideology behind them, and also that by choosing particular languages, local languages, we were showing some sort of linguistic affiliation or disaffiliation concerning our bilingual context. And so I was really very intrigued about what do we do in Catalonia when we choose Catalan and Spanish with the social meanings that we attribute to them, when we judge people's linguistic identity in terms of ethnicity. Oh, this is Catalan, and so on. Although at that time it was a sensitive issue, because as you might imagine, as in any other bilingual society, it was a heated issue of debate. I have been so fortunate to keep working on the languages of migrant populations and how they navigate their social status in Catalonia. In that case, always learning from what happens to migrant populations around Europe and around the world, but situating it in this bilingual context that I was talking about. And just I am intrigued about non-typically explored spaces of meetingness, as Ulrich talks about. That is, spaces that are migrant regulated, that tend to be called grassroots, that tend to be called alternatives. And that's the spaces where we can observe socialization practices through language, if we want to understand the languages of migration. So my aim was, how about investigating languages of migration, but this time, why don't we focus on unseen populations in spaces that are relevant for them? So trying to understand where they meet, and these spaces tend to be not, of course, not institutions. So I was intrigued, and I really wanted to approach Ghanaian populations. One, because we needed a commitment to unseen, undocumented populations, which are more difficult to grasp. Number two, because I do think that if it's critical sociolinguistics, we need to address issues of inequality and social differentiation in our places. And number three, because of the fact that they are not found in what we might call regular spaces. I think that was also part of the commitment from critical ethnolinguistic or ethnographic sociolinguistic to also incorporate these populations as co-participants, not as subjects or informants, but as co-participants. So we did all these co-ethnographic walks around the town to the places that were relevant for them. And I need to say very clearly that it is not about giving them a voice. It is establishing a dialogue. And I think that it is in there where we more clearly can address contradictions concerning language practice, ideologies, and identities. What I tend to foster now is this idea of citizenship sociolinguistics, an idea developed by Svetsen 2010, and also on this idea of democratizing, or at least opening up, knowledge generation about languages to society at large, including participants of our studies. So it was a way for me first to write on a way in which you can approach populations by being clear about the questions, and by being clear about the asymmetries of socioeconomic power, and so on, and by being clear that you are linking it to inequality. That's also not easy to do sometimes. And so for me, it's a way of self-reflexivity, self-criticism, and continuous assessment of my role in the construction of knowledge. And maybe you can always get new ideas just by listening to people and asking questions of what languages are used in situated place and time, for whom, when, why, and with what consequences.